there is no separation between work life and home life. What happens at work, you bring home. What
Exactly.
happens at home, you bring to work.
Exactly.
And work is a part of our lives, and home is a part of our work and our
Yes.
lives and all of that.
Yes. And
Yeah, I'm with you.
you really can't win at one. You don't just take off the work hat, and you definitely don't take off the dad hat. There are
Well,
times you need to
if
focus.
I'm not winning at home, work is empty.
Yes, exactly. It's like,
It's
what's the
like,
point?
yeah, what's the point?
Right.
There's a purpose that all of our lives are centered around, and work is a gift. Work is a part of that,
Hmm.
but we work in order to provide,
Hmm.
not just to work,
Hmm.
right? The whatever trophies or paycheck I bring home is meaningless
Hmm.
if there's no one to enjoy it with on earth, or have everyone to enjoy it with on earth, but I don't work hard
Hmm.
and I don't have the ability to provide.
Hmm.
That creates really rough home life. Like
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
to coincide.
So
I
that
would agree.
actually brings in a perfect introduction to Zach. Thanks for joining the Invested Fathers today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about what you're up to. I always like to start the show with bring us into what you're up to business wise and even to the point of what you're up to today.
Yeah, so business wise, I've got a State Farm agency in Greer, South Carolina. Not really that creative of a name, just Zach Sprunger State Farm. So, um, been doing that since 2020. Always been in sales pretty much my entire professional career. This is a super exciting spot for me to be in with the agency because I get to coach sales
Hmm.
with employees, team members that we have,
Hmm.
while also still being in the mix, like being very hands-on. So it's young. We just started year 5 about a month ago, 2 months ago, I guess.
Okay.
So yeah, we're moving though. We're
Yeah.
moving. It's been good.
5 years is not a short time, but I know there's probably a long road to go in regards to what it could be or how you're growing it.
I set this target out of, okay, for the first 5 years, I'm going to reinvest
Hmm.
a lot
Hmm.
back into it.
Hmm.
So whether that's hiring a new team member, man, reinvesting for marketing,
Hmm.
infrastructure, right? Systems, processes, investing in all of those things with the goal that maybe we'll start getting to draw a little bit of that
Yeah.
soon. That would be
Yes.
awesome.
No,
It's been 5 years of reinvesting a lot, so I'm excited to get to year 6.
I think a lot of business owners out there can resonate with that feeling of when is this going to pay off and the systems and processes and hiring. I I know there's a lot of business people who have started their own thing listening. And maybe they're further along than you, or maybe they're on the front end. To the person who's more on the front end, what has been like one of the biggest lessons learned, or maybe biggest obstacle, something that's really moved the needle that you didn't know before when you were just getting started?
There's been a couple things in my career, not even just starting the business, but
Hmm.
like in sales, when I started in sales, I thought people that go into sales aren't good at anything else,
Mm.
so they get put in sales. And that was just flipped on its head. So
Mm.
I since then I've just realized like these expectations that I have for something,
Hmm.
or a thought
Mm.
that I have on something, and the way that I view it is not reality. And a lot of things are getting flipped on their head. So it went through this process of me trying to figure out, what do I want to do. I knew I didn't want to just go to work every day, collect a paycheck, and go home. And that's a fine thing to do. I knew I wanted to do something that involved a little bit of risk, that
Mm.
involved
Mm.
creativity, me creating processes, all that stuff. And then for a minute, I felt if I go to State Farm, that's just me hiding behind a corporate brand, and I'm not going to create my own business.
Mm.
And I've learned that partnering with a company like State Farm, or if you're starting a business and you're creating a widget,
Mhm.
finding somebody that creates a little bit of shade,
Mhm.
but you can also learn and grow from,
Mhm.
is huge.
Absolutely.
That I thought, I'm just going to go out and start my own independent insurance agency, and we're going to do whatever we want to do, however we want to market. And I've just quickly learned how valuable it is having the support of a company like State Farm, and then even the network that's created.
Mhm.
So I would just say, if you're on the front end, lean into as much support
Mhm.
as you can. Don't feel like this is my company and I have to do it.
Mhm.
I'm not saying enter a harmful partnership. I don't,
Mhm.
I'm not saying that. I'm just
Mhm.
saying find a, a group that
Mm-hmm.
you can maybe latch on to
Mm-hmm.
that is going to support and help. Maybe the net revenue goes down a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but what you gain out of that
Right.
is enormous.
I love what you're saying. I think one of the biggest benefits you would get from that is while you're still figuring it out, the time element of figuring things out is quickly expedited.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know what age everyone feels like they should start their own business, but the earlier years are, I feel like, the most important years to be not buried under 80 hours of work and just trying to figure out what this thing should be. So
Hmm.
I talk a lot about syndications on the show. And how does someone who doesn't maybe have this track record of how do you buy your first apartment complex?
Yeah,
I mean, that question right there.
not with cash.
The, so you rather just take a huge risk because you have money and you hope you know do everything,
Right.
or you partner and you find these guys that have done it 1,000 times or whatever, 15, 20 times, and you just get on their team, figure it out, learn along the way, like you're saying. So
Yeah.
I think that concept of partnerships and learning and growing and squashing that fear of what partnerships, I'm giving up some of the proceeds.
Mhm.
I think that's a very toxic mindset. So
I think
that's
it
awesome that you get
limits
that.
you. It
Yeah.
really limits you. It only allows you to grow to your capacity.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they're like, I don't know, like the envelope system isn't going to get your first apartment complex. I'm
Right.
saying like Dave Ramsey's
Oh,
envelope
yes, yes,
system isn't
yes.
getting you that. So there is a risk that has to be involved. And I know he's
Right.
talking to a different demographic,
Right,
right?
right,
I
right,
get
right,
that.
right,
But
right.
like if that's the way I was ingrained and I'm not going to let myself open up to
Hmm.
learn anything else,
Hmm.
I'm limited.
Yeah.
I'm very limited.
Yeah.
And if I set myself to, if I put myself in a situation that I'm never going to be able to change my mind,
Hmm.
like that's just as toxic.
Hmm. Yeah. No,
So
you're
yeah,
right. Being
that's
open.
good.
And then just to kind of, in a way, wrap up the business side, not that we're going to leave it completely, but in the 5 years that you've been growing this thing, how do you feel the business is today in regards to the returns? Not necessarily financially, like whatever you want to share there, but just in how you've developed and grown and seen this thing, this baby of yours mature. Have your expectations been met on where you were hoping to be in that
Pretty much
time?
exceeded,
Okay.
to be honest.
Okay.
We had a goal. We just started year five, and I had a goal that at the end of year five, what we would consider like the property and casualty book, I had a certain mark that I wanted to be at.
Mm-hmm.
But like we basically hit that mark that I wanted to be at the end of year four. We had a massive jump
Mm-hmm.
in quarter one of year four
Okay. Okay.
that finished the
I
year
see.
where we wanted to be at the a year ahead of schedule,
Okay. Awesome.
ultimately. So
That's
now
awesome.
this year, in a way, I don't want to consider it like, oh, it's just gravy,
Mm-hmm.
but it is when you look at like the business plan that was set out for 5 years.
Yeah.
And part of that was it completely out of our control. We just came into this time where it was like milk and honey with State Farm.
Yeah.
You ran a quote and they were like, I want it. Let's do it. And they're like, oh, okay. We were just shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
Um, and then you look at like God's providence and the way that things just line out that you didn't even see coming. Like quarter one of 24, we had a big jump.
Mm-hmm.
Things just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Then quarter two leveled out. June and July hit of last year, and it went like hard stop,
Oh.
hard stop. Like State Farm was clamping down on new business that they wanted, and they were like being very strict on renewal business. They weren't like canceling anybody in the middle of a policy, like
Mm-hmm.
what everybody's talking about in California. That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying, hey, in 12 months, we're not going to renew the policy. So we were just getting a ton of those. And the whole state was getting hit with just this fluctuation of premiums and rates and what's
Mm-hmm.
going on. And so it was weird, this like time of panic,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where for the first time, for all 4 years, it was out of my control. But for the first time, I felt like it was out of my control.
Okay.
I wasn't influencing things.
Okay.
And that 6 months of last year, right? The second 6 months of last year just fell into this kind of like tizzy panic,
Mm.
freak out of, oh, what are we going to do? Like, we got to make things happen. And the progress came to a screeching halt.
Mm-hmm.
But the overall like growth of the team came out really strong.
Awesome.
I get like we started this year, things have opened up a little bit more, and they battled through a really difficult time
Mm.
that was out of control.
Mm.
And now they've started this year, and We back to back months, we've had the two best months we've ever had
Mm,
in 4+ years of agency.
excellent.
It's like the really tough time led to their growth. And
That's awesome.
this doesn't answer the question, but I look back on it too, and it was weird where that was my time as a leader
Hmm.
that I made some mistakes, probably showed too much panic. I think leaders, it's okay to show emotion. I think
Hmm.
you do have to be vulnerable, put your heart out with where you're at, what they're doing, what the team is doing, how the business is growing.
Hmm.
But I learned that my panic is going to be exponentially resembled in them.
Yeah.
That seeing the team grow, and myself, but seeing the team grow and develop
Yeah.
has been awesome to now get to this year and watching them thrive.
That was part of the question. I really feel is where have you seen that growth and being vulnerable to even say, I feel like I made some mistakes actually on how I handled this. And you're with your team who is, they're not robots. So they're going to see what you're doing. They're going to feel what you're doing. And I would hope that the resiliency that has been shown through the valley of the drought business is making everyone stronger on the team and just making that more of a family culture of, hey, we're in this together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been
Kudos,
fun.
man.
It's been fun
It's great.
watching that happen.
Maybe we can switch then to the parenting personal side of life because these investments that we're doing in the business definitely don't stop when we go home because I mean if you're making a big move or there's a bad couple of months in the business, you're going to be affected and you can't just change yourself when you walk through the door and
Hmm.
your kids are there. So tell us a little bit about first off how many kids do you have? You have kids, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We do. Yeah, two little girls.
Okay.
Two little girls. We're done.
Okay.
We're done. The second one is absolutely wild.
Okay.
She is on like level 10, full throttle, 24 hours out of the day, even when she's sleeping.
Okay.
She's crazy. So like
Okay.
number two, we were like, yeah,
You
we're
know what?
done.
This is
Yeah,
this is
we're
it.
done. We did it. But yeah, two kids and obviously a wife.
Yes. How
And
long you guys been married?
2017, we got married. And our eighth anniversary is coming up,
Okay.
I
Okay.
think.
Cool, dude.
And that's been fun. I'll tell you, the kids are one thing, but marrying the right woman,
It's huge.
dude, I did not
Huge.
know how valuable that would be.
Amen.
I'm not sitting here talking about the State Farm Agency, resilience,
Right.
leadership. I'm not talking about any of that if it's not for her.
Right.
There were so many times I worked at Jeff Dar's office starting out, and there was just so many times I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not even guaranteed to get an agency. I'm just gonna quit and go work at Michelin, which is a great place to work,
Right.
make a paycheck for the rest of my life and be done.
Right.
And she was like, no, like we're staying in this, we're gonna do this.
She was
Like
the drive.
she was the driver,
That's awesome, dude.
100%. So marrying the right woman, and then that makes it easier
Mm.
to come home
Yeah.
and battle through some of this. Be
Yeah.
like, no, we've got it. We've already been through
Yes.
craziness in the past. We're fine here. So you walk through the door. It it's not perfect. I don't walk through the door and always love
Right.
like the chaos. What especially when
You
we
know?
went through. Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. When we went through the hurricane September 27th through the
Mm.
rest of the year
Mm.
was just this very hectic time, heavy time
Mm.
for me.
Mm.
And walking through the door, it was sometimes I was like frustrated.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, you guys like nobody talk
Right.
for 10 minutes, just nobody talk.
Right.
And then other times I'd walk through the door and it was just like this sigh of relief that like, but my kids are here,
Yeah.
like my family's here.
Right.
And I think I've got to give myself grace on both of those.
Mm.
That if I walk through the door and I have a bad reaction,
Mm.
I'm human.
Mm.
It's going to happen.
Mm.
As a leader, I'm human and it's going
Mm.
to happen.
Mm.
So if I'm going to lead my family with the same importance that I put on leading my business,
Mm.
then I've got to be vulnerable with my kids
Mm.
and my wife. I've got to be able to sit my 4-year-old down
Mm.
and say, hey, that was wrong.
Mm.
Like when I got upset at you because you asked the same question 12 times
Mm.
and I wasn't answering and then I snapped, like dad was wrong. And like
Right.
in the moment, it's no, I'm not wrong.
Right.
Just if I'm not answering, shut up. Just
Right.
stop.
Right.
Stop asking the question. I don't know why Bluey is blue. I don't know. That's how they made him. That's why she's a blue dog. And I just got to
Right.
stop and be
Right.
like, no, I need to take ownership of it and apologize. And I think
Mm.
leaders, dads, husbands,
Hmm.
whatever, even if you're single and you're leading somewhere, leaders run to their
Hmm.
mistakes.
Hmm.
They don't excuse them,
Hmm.
right? We're not, as a leader, I'm not passive towards the areas that I've
Hmm.
made mistakes in, even if it's so small,
Right.
or even if I was justified, I don't run from it.
Mhm.
I own it. I run to it. I own it. And I don't shift the blame on circumstances. I don't shift the blame on I'm going through
Right.
a hurricane and
Right.
I've got all these claims and these
Right.
people are homeless. Of course, I'm going to be No, that's not Lila's fault.
Right.
That's not Franny's fault.
Right.
They need their dad to own it and apologize. Not be perfect.
Mm.
Not be perfect. Like I'm gonna give myself grace, but I'm gonna own it and lean in on it as quick as possible.
Huge. The theme of forgiveness being, and I think it's even, especially with our kids. I feel like I'm apologizing to a 4-year-old, really, like they don't know anything about what's going on, like you said. But I think I get so excited when they model our behavior. So if we are, this is what, just staunch and you don't understand, making excuses, they're going to do that.
Yeah.
If you're able to admit faults, calm down, be vulnerable. I've just seen that with my daughter, who is the just crazy one at our home, who is almost 4. And it's testing because my son is the opposite, where he's like just obedient in every way. It
Mm.
seems like it's just like it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, the easy
Yeah.
firstborn, but he also has some things that we're working on with self-confidence and in a way being assertive when someone does something wrong. And
Mm.
I'm just going with so it's all good. And this is a space where I want to give encouragement to my dads to say, hey, you can be killing it in the office and just crushing numbers and work, or things are really hard right now. However, you cannot just hang up the hat of being the leader at home.
Hmm.
So it's really cool to hear. Have you seen any other parallels or aha moments of being a businessman, business owner? I love to hear that your wife supports you and has been like a just huge supporter along the way. But things that you've seen and have worked on at home that have shown some fruits or returns.
I would say this is home and community. This is going to be pretty vulnerable,
Okay.
but going through last year in 2023, right? So we're kind of dating this here from right now, 2 years ago,
Mm,
we had the best year ever.
mm,
So
mm,
qualified for this level of like agency award that doesn't happen often
mm-hmm,
in year three.
mm-hmm,
So we met that. We had a just bang out year, just massive year. And I quickly went from this prayerful, dependent, like I need
mm,
this is only gonna happen, Lord, if you let it
mm,
happen. And say we went from praying for an agency and God met everything we prayed for. Like
mm.
literally every single thing we prayed for.
It's awesome.
He like blessed it and made it happen. And then in a matter of 3 years, 2 years, basically, I had completely shifted and I was like, man, I got this. Look at what we just qualified for.
Right,
We're the best.
right,
I'm the best.
right,
My processes are the best.
right.
I'm doing all this. And 2024 hit and I was the ruler. As a business owner,
Mm,
nobody, I reported to no one.
mm,
And the way State Farm is set up, I'm not a franchise. I am my own business. If they're running a special, I don't have to run it. If they're running a promotion, I don't have to run it. I can do whatever I want, obviously within legal fines,
right.
but like that created this sense of maybe autonomy
Mm-hmm,
that just wasn't real, that like I'm in charge and I'm in control, I'm in power.
mm-hmm,
And just some really hard things came out end of last year
mm,
that, we as a family were working through. All this stuff was just like came to a head and came to a point, and I realized just the value of, you said working at home, things that you've seen in parallel, the value of community as a business owner and the value of people that are going to be honest with you and real with you,
mm,
especially if you really are trying to be a business owner that is faithful, hardworking, honest, you're trying to do all those things. If you're not a believer, this probably doesn't resonate.
mm-hmm,
But if you're a believer that is a business owner, you've got to be put yourself under some sort of biblical authority
Mm-hmm.
somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
somehow. And I had removed all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got very lonely, but was winning.
Mm-hmm.
So on the outside, I was winning, but I
Mm-hmm.
was very, very lonely. I had no community. Kind of took ourselves out of church when Franny was born. Things were just hectic and exhausting, and she had some health issues, and we were just tired. We don't have time to go to church, and so we didn't. And then I lost touch with biblical friends that were keeping me accountable with all that, and that having no authority and me being in charge of all of it, found myself like not wasting money per se on like gambling or anything like that, but just being dumb
Mm-hmm.
with money.
Yeah.
Like the example that I give all the time is I bought a John Deere greens mower. So we moved and
Okay.
yeah,
Sounds like a good mower.
I have no idea how to use it. Like it's this like few $1,000 mower. I have no idea how to make it go. So I figured it out and I like was, oh, let's just see how it goes. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, it is a professional machine. It's not for residential use. The thing nicked a piece of like a little rock,
Right.
bent the blade. So it's just been sitting in my garage.
Right.
I can't sell it because it's got a bent blade, and those are like $400 to replace just the blade. So I'm like, what are we doing? So anyway, it started to become ruler of my own
Yeah.
life, my own heart, all that stuff, and
Yeah.
led to just dumb decisions.
Yeah.
Dumb decisions.
Yeah.
Kate, I wasn't leaning on Kate to
Mm.
help me make decisions. I
Mm.
wasn't leaning on community or friends to help me make decisions. And dude, yeah, I bought the mower. I made an absolutely
Mm.
terrible hire
Mm.
during that time. Just mistake after mistake showed itself. And so I think a parallel that I've noticed is you've got to seek it. You've got to push yourself into biblical authority and into
Mm-hmm.
community
Mm-hmm.
aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
Aggressively.
Thank you, Zach. That's a great story. I'm sorry you went through that. However, it sounds like after being brought low, you've realized your faults of the community aspect and are we're on your way up. Can you even go a little deeper on that? So like the mower, the bad hire, probably some disconnected home sounds like
Oh, a
just like,
ton. Yeah.
you know,
Scrolling.
yeah, just yeah, like you're just in this like funk. Just
Hmm.
like and I've been there. I don't know. I think maybe people maybe visit that and then maybe come back out, or it seemed like you were in it for a while. What was it that was the turning point for you in that? And who was a person, or is it just like, dang, did God just give you a verse? What was that?
Yeah. So it was not a specific revelation that I had.
Yeah, like
Yeah, that did not happen.
okay,
I was actually like caught in some sin
yeah,
and very tough discussion with my wife.
yeah,
Um, that again, you marry the right woman.
yeah,
She was like, we're gonna we're gonna fix this.
yeah.
We're gonna get back in church. We're not gonna be comfortable. We're not gonna let
Amen.
ourselves like just sit back and accept that this is just how it is. Like we're gonna and like she did nothing wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
She was not the one wasting money, wasting time,
Mm-hmm.
not investing in our kids and our family.
Mm-hmm.
But yet she was the one that was right alongside me when she was like, we're gonna get back in church.
Yeah.
Like I am
Wow.
with you to get this fixed, to get the community built back. Um, so it kind of stinks that it's not like, yeah, I was reading this verse and then, oh man, like, it was like, no, I had to be really brought low,
Humbled.
really humbled.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that came out of that was just this, I realized what real confession
Mm.
and repentance is.
Yeah.
There were a few moments from high school into college where I had confessed a few things. Like, they say, hey, if you got problems, like come and confess. And so I went and confessed it.
Right.
And each time was basically told, like, hey, go work on that and then come back.
Mm.
And then in college, I went and confessed something and they were like, well, we're gonna kick you out of school.
Mm-hmm.
But so like go figure it out on your own and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, what is this idea of like grace and forgiveness, and why would I confess anything ever again
Yeah.
when there's zero like movement? And I know sin has consequences, so I'm not
Yes.
saying
Yes.
that.
Yes.
You've got to pay the yeah, there was no we want to help you out of it.
Yeah.
So then there's created this fear of rejection
Yes.
for me. And this time around, I just realized, saw wow, this is it. There were pastors that were like, let's go get lunch.
Yes.
Guys that are my age that are in the church that were like, let's go get a coffee or let's go play golf. I want to hear about this. Man, this is awesome. So and so told me about this story and now you're back doing that. Like,
Yeah.
let's go connect. And the consequence was still there.
Yeah.
That didn't go away.
Right.
The consequence was still there. It's in my garage as a 200-pound green smoke, right? Like it's almost now to the point where like I don't want to sell it
Right.
because I
You
see that I'm
remember
like,
this.
oh man, I'm not going to be an idiot. But like
Love
the
it.
consequences are still there.
Right.
But there has been like a desire now to not only confess but repent
Hmm.
because now it's like, whoa, hey, what that is offering, like I want that.
Yeah.
This is fulfillment.
Yeah.
Even when the business has a tough time,
Mm.
this is fulfillment. And it was crazy. Like all that happened August, September, and then December, we had just this crazy like pay period that just rolled through where my payroll is about 14 grand
Hmm.
per pay period.
Hmm.
And this one that came through, the check that the agency made was like 14.5. I was like, ah! Like, what are we gonna do? Like, we made payroll, but
Barely.
can't do anything else, you know?
Right.
And really had just a completely different perspective on that time, I think, than I
Hmm.
would have 12 months ago.
Hmm.
I would have been like, well, I gotta fire somebody. Like,
Yeah.
someone's gone.
Yeah.
Because
Phase out.
yeah, and I have to have enough money to buy whatever is
Hmm.
gonna make me comfortable
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
anything like that.
Dude, thank you, Zach.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I said it was gonna get a
yeah.
little
No,
vulnerable,
it's
so
great, man.
I
I appreciate you sharing all that. But we're talking about what matters. And we can definitely get lost in the numbers and the tactics and the what was it like hiring this person and just like the business side of life. But when we see these things that God does for us in our soul and for our wives, I mean, sheesh, I can't say enough about how moved I was about your wife and how he's like, she stuck with me.
hmm
Like choosing the right person. You said that earlier on. Like choosing the
Yeah,
right person is like the most important decision you can have because
ever.
now you are no longer a half a person. You're now a whole unit with your wife. And you guys can face these things together, even when something hard comes, sin or losses of money or whatever it is. And you can hit those instead of just
hmm
crawling to the hole and just and that's huge. And
It's massive.
that's awesome. And your kids
Massive.
are still growing. They don't just clock out and watch TV for a year. Like they're seeing everything.
hmm
And I hope that you do keep that more so that when your kids are old enough, you can say, "Hey, let me tell you about this more.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you how about dumb daddy was and how I want you to not make these mistakes and
Yep.
how God was great through this way and how your mom did all these things." So thank you for sharing all that, Zach.
Yeah, man.
Well, let me check the time actually because I want to make sure we're okay. We probably have one or two more questions.
Yeah.
One of the so this will hopefully make things a little more lighthearted, emotional. One of the best things about being a dad right now. My kids, Moses, he's such a sponge and he loves playing with me. It's just something that like we go out in the backyard right now and do volleyball. And my daughter has just started drawing me pictures. So I'm getting a picture every,
I love that.
hour.
I love that.
And she's just, I do this for you, daddy. And we have a stack of them and they're great. So I forget if you had give me your daughter's ages, but what are you guys into right now? What's just a great thing about being a dad?
So yeah, we're 4 and 2.
Okay.
About to be 2. She'll be 2 in a couple months.
Okay. And
Kind of,
those are hard years. So
man, they are
that's
hard
kind of maybe a
years.
hard question because I,
Yeah,
I know.
they are. We're in the thick of it
Yeah.
for sure. But the 4-year-old, she's starting to pick up on phrases,
Okay.
just like colloquialisms that exist.
Right.
It's like the most recent one, just out of nowhere, she'll just be like, "Hey, don't mind me," but and it kills me. And she wants to reason with
Mm.
you. So, hey, we're not going to watch TV. Like, we don't need to watch TV. And then she'll be like, but just wait a minute. What if? And she'll create this argument for why she needs to watch it. And like, I love that. I think it's hilarious.
Right.
I would say the other thing is watching them start to like connect and
Mhm.
play
Oh
together.
yeah, yeah.
They're actually like joking around, playing like
Yes.
I mean, really up until like the last few months they were just so disconnected,
Mm.
in age and ability. And Franny started like really running and getting up and down the steps on her own, 2-year-old. And they have a little playroom. And every now and then, not always, but every now and then you'll just hear little glimpses of them
Laughing.
playing
Yeah.
and giggling.
Yeah.
And running, playing a story or whatever together, make believe, and that is awesome. Sometimes it's difficult not to think, oh man, I just can't wait till they're like 10 and 8
Mm-hmm.
and they just get dressed and like they go to bed. But like holding on to right now,
Mm-hmm.
it is fun.
Mm-hmm.
It is fun. It's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to the point where like Franny, like if you just yell one more time, like I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna freak out. Stop. Like just
Right,
stop. And then
right,
she obviously has no idea what's going on, so she
right,
just yells again.
right.
But it's fun, chaotic,
Yes,
very memorable right
yes.
now.
Now I challenge you to, in those heated moments of just like screaming, there's a time to like, okay, discipline or survive, but look for those moments, whether it's they're giggling together
Yeah.
or whatever, telling stories, doing those fun colloquialisms, to just be thankful. Because I feel like that's
Grab
what
them.
keep
Yeah,
grab
grab
them
those
and
moments.
just hold on to them because
It's been good.
that's a special thing that only you as the dad can really appreciate and enjoy. That like
100%.
I just feel like it's a gift from God.
100%. That's so good.
I'm gonna actually give one more sort of businessy question. I probably should have thrown this out earlier, but it doesn't matter. The show's Invested Fathers. I'm all about investing wisely, not just, business wise, but also in the home. But financially, we've had conversations about what are some things that you're looking at investing outside of the business? Because right
Mhm.
now it's been a lot of business, right? 5 years of
Yeah.
just, hey, we make something back in the business.
Yep.
And I would dare to say there's a lot of business owners who they do that their whole lives. It's just, hey, we can buy another piece of equipment or a bigger building or whatever it is.
Hmm.
I feel like that is potentially a trap in what if something goes wrong in the business? Or, hey, every time I invest in the business, there's a little more energy suck that happens from me that I'd like to see maybe something else. Give me some of just your mindset. There's no wrong answer here, but what are some thoughts you have on maybe over the next few years? I don't even know when, but investing financially, are you seeing, okay, next 5 years back in the business or some other things?
Yeah. I think it's great. I can see how easy it would be right now for me to get sucked into the thought I'm gonna be working in this agency and it's gonna get to a point where it runs itself. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
be holding on to this until I'm 80.
Yeah.
There is now what 50 years of unknown
Yeah.
until I'm 80.
Yeah.
And that is such a horrible investment strategy when you think about it. Will I continue to invest in it? 100%.
Right.
Like
That's what you
it's my
know.
livelihood right now.
Right. Right.
But getting outside of it, absolutely where I kind of have to look as well.
Mhm.
A mentor of mine, insurance agency, and owns a couple of other businesses.
Mhm.
And what's crazy is he doesn't take anything out of those businesses.
Mm.
It's just it's in there and it's growing. And when he turns 50, 60, whatever, he sells his shares and I mean,
That's it.
he's great. Like
Yeah.
he is going to be golden
Yeah.
in retirement. It was funny, he was forced to take a disbursement for tax reasons, and his disbursement was about double of what I made this year. And like a great year
You
for me.
love that.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, there's something there. Like I can't compare. He's
Right.
20 years down the road, but
Right.
I've got to be looking at something like that.
Right.
So, I love the whole real estate syndicate piece. I don't think I would have the bandwidth right now to even buy like a flip
Hmm.
and get in and flip it.
Hmm.
I don't have the time, and that's fine.
Hmm.
That's okay for me, but I still like the results that those things bring. Having the ability to get involved in something like that is big. I think another thing too is just disciplined monthly cash flow
Yeah.
in order to have some liquidity when something comes around.
Hmm.
So, I love the whole every dollar has a name. I love that idea. But at the same time, if every dollar has a name and every dollar goes somewhere that I don't have access to it 24, like at just any time,
Hmm.
then when an opportunity comes around, I can't touch it.
Right.
And it's good every dollar's been invested somewhere, whether it's just like a target retirement fund,
Hmm.
it's some sort of general market or specific stock or employer stock, whatever it is that you're starting to invest in and put things in. Those are great. But if all my money is in the market and somebody comes around like, hey, we're selling this insect control business.
Hmm.
And, I'm retiring. I've got this issue going on. I got to sell it. And I just want to sell it to somebody that I know. And Trez, I'm going to sell it to you for like a third of the cost. Well, I mean, that's a great opportunity.
Mm.
And if I'm all tied up somewhere, I can't go at it. So this year, kind of like I said at the beginning, this is the first year that I'm taking my foot off the gas of spending in State Farm.
Hmm.
So I'm still spending, we're still growing,
Hmm.
but I've had this, if we could say like business lifestyle creep
Hmm.
that has reached its peak. Like I don't have any more room in the office for
Hmm.
desks to fill.
Got it.
I don't really need to fill any room in the desk in the office. The team's skill is getting better.
Hmm.
That's where we're investing in now.
Hmm.
It's pointless for me to advertise for more leads because we've hit this peak.
Hmm.
So my goal now is to be save a certain amount by the end of the year, have that nest egg built back for the business, and
Hmm.
then start looking at monthly. I want to basically dollar cost average just every month, put money in the market going for like this is our target retirement. So
Hmm.
we want to retire with X amount at 60, 65.
Hmm.
If I still get to hold on to the agency, fantastic. If I'm too sick or health issues or I die at 70,
Hmm.
Kate is
This
great.
is, yeah.
We've got that laid out where we know every month we're going to put this much in. Then the excess, that's where I think I want to get creative.
Hmm.
And I haven't been able to do that yet.
Hmm.
I don't know what that looks like, but
Hmm.
um, I've tossed out ideas even of creating a space
Yeah.
for people to make content for their business, renting that out.
Hmm.
Not passive, right? Still very active.
Hmm.
Rental properties
Hmm.
are something that I would like to keep my pulse on, right? If keep a pulse on that if something pops up, I want to be in those.
Hmm.
And then I think I'm very good with creating processes. And so if a business were to present itself, I think I'd be interested in
Yeah.
looking at that.
Yeah.
And I think it ideally would be a business that is process deficient
Mm.
so that my skills could go in,
Yeah.
create those processes, watch that valuation tick up, and then either sell or kind
Love
of
it.
ride that one out as well. So I would say going on this year, at the end of this year, I'm excited to look at what is out there other than like a target retirement fund
Hmm.
that you're putting money into and
Waiting.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, thanks for sharing, Zach. If our audience wanted to find more about Zach Sprunger State Farm, give us your like go-to place to get you.
Yeah, I mean, zachsprunger.com
Okay.
is going to be the website for the
Perfect.
agency, or just email zach@zachsprunger.com.
Cool.
That's it.
Zach, thanks for sharing all the stuff at home, the business. Been a great guest, and wish you the best, man.
Appreciate it. You too, Kenny.
Thank you.